Hello everyone, my name is Rik Van Bruggen from Neotechnology, and here we are again recording another Graphistania podcast episode. And today I'm joined by Amanda Schaffer from Cisco, and you're based in Seattle, right, Amanda?
That's correct.
Hey, well, our listeners may not know you yet, even though you've participated in the Graph Gist Challenge last winter. So why don't you introduce yourself, Amanda?
Sure. So I am the technical lead for an analytics team in Cisco, and my group focuses on maintenance contract renewals and kind of optimizing the quoting workflow and optimizing customer success. So we look a lot of metrics related to opportunity and bookings and quoting pathways and things like that.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. And you know that Cisco is already an E4J user, so maybe someday you get to use it professionally there as well.
I hope so. I'm working on a couple of use cases for that.
Really cool. But what I've read from your work so far, you've been using Neo4j for some of your personal projects, right?
I have, yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure, absolutely. So I started out going to some theater productions around Seattle and noticed that I recognized a lot of the actors from, different plays in different theater companies, and I got interested in graphing that because that's such a perfect kind of classic graph problem, mapping people and social networks, and so I was interested in that in the theater space. So for the Graph Gist Challenge last winter, I wanted to take a look at that and ended up focusing on the Seattle Shakespeare Company, mostly because their data was kind of the best available of the local theater companies. So I had to do the least data engineering for that and could focus on the analysis a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I took a look at their past productions and kind of mashed that up with all of the available Shakespeare plays and took a look at things like, production year and comedies versus tragedies and their kind of normal seasons versus the things they take out to the parks. And just had a lot of fun exploring the data with Neo4j.
Did you learn anything interesting? Things that you didn't know before?
I definitely learned that the most popular plays and the most accessible ones tend to be the things that they take to the parks, which was interesting. And I found that there were only 8 plays of Shakespeare's that the Seattle Shakespeare Company hasn't produced.
Oh,
So they've
right.
done a pretty comprehensive job. So
When you say take it to the park, what does that mean? I mean, I'm not familiar with that.
So there's a summer kind of Shakespeare in the Park program where they go out to different parks around the city and tour even around Washington State and do free productions in parks around the summer.
Now you're just trying to get me to, visit Seattle, right? That's
Seattle is a fantastic place to visit in the summer. I highly recommend it.
very, very good. And you told me a little bit about some other projects that you were had been working on as well. Like the movie festival. Tell us about that, maybe.
Yes, so Seattle has an international film festival that takes place in May and June. And so this year I had a festival pass, which means that I could see any movie essentially that was running during the festival. But there are about 500 movies to see in about 3.5 weeks. And so figuring out which movies to see is a big challenge. So I watched all of the trailers and rated the movies according to my interests. And then I loaded the schedules, the theaters, the transit time between theaters, and my ratings and the movies all into Neo4j. And using a Python program, I created kind of my optimal schedule for the International Film Festival. And I ran 100 simulations and took a look at the top kind of 10 to 20 schedules and used that as my basis for deciding which movies to go see.
Sweet, that sounds really great. It reminds me a little bit of the use case that we talked about on this podcast a couple of episodes back about the date night movies. I don't know if you've heard that episode. It's datenightmovies.com. You'll like it if you're a movie buff.
Very cool. I'll have to take a look at that.
Yeah, very good. So why graphs, Amanda? Why did you get into graphs, and what's so cool about them for you?
Well, I actually got interested in graphs looking at the master data management use case because as part of our quoting workflows, we have a lot of places where a single kind of parent company will have a bunch of different subsidiaries or a bunch of different field locations. And we want to be able to understand, which of these contracts really belong to the same company and things like that. So I took a hands-on workshop with Nicole White from Neo4j actually at NoSQL Now in 2015, and that was my official kind of hands-on introduction when I was exploring that master data management use case. And I just kind of got hooked after that workshop. It was so much fun and so easy and intuitive to kind of play around with the graph model, especially in Neo4j. And so from there, it just sort of took off. And, they say once you get it, everything is a graph. And I think that's really true. I'm always kind of thinking about how can I make this into, a fun Neo4j project.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's unbelievable, right? I mean, I was actually jogging yesterday, and all of a sudden, my podcast is talking about graphs. It was really really peculiar. All right. Well, so the model, that's what you find very interesting. The ease of use. Is there anything particular that you find most appealing in EPJ, or?
I love the ease of use. For me, I'm just kind of always thinking about, the intersection of business and technology, or the intersection of kind of modeling real world things and technology. So the kind of modeling events like I did for the film festival is very interesting to me. Like the use case, I was thinking about Data Day Seattle, a local conference that I attended a couple of days ago, and thinking about, well, conference management software, and figuring out, combining kind of the session scheduling with a recommendation engine, which I think are both things that Neo4j does really well. And it seems like you could build a really powerful conference scheduler application based on that. So attendees could, make it social and recommend sessions for each other and things like that. And so just kind of always thinking about the ways that things are connected, and how to just apply these classic kind of graph problems to a lot of situations in the real world.
Totally. Well, at Graph Connect, we always have a scheduled graph. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but in the Graph Connect conference that we host every 6 months, upcoming October in San Francisco as well, we'll have a scheduled graph as well. So maybe that's the starting point for you.
That's great. I have actually recently purchased tickets to the event in San Francisco, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Fantastic. We'll see each other there for sure then. So other than Graph Connect, what does the future look like, Amanda? Where do you think this is going for you personally, for the industry? What's in store, do you think?
For me, I think the really interesting next step, and the hurdle that I need to overcome to use it professionally, is just really making kind of the self-serve analytics part, and getting kind of graph understanding out to, the typical data analysts on my team, and the people that would use this analysis day to day in their business, and kind of helping them understand these cases and understand the graphic analysis and things like that. And I think making it really accessible to just a lot more people around the organization is kind of one of the biggest challenges that I'm looking at. And so, I know in Neo4j 3, there's the ability to share the graph style sheets that you've set up in the cloud, and so that everyone can see exactly what you're seeing on the screen, and it's much more easy to share those around the organization. And so things like that I'm really excited about, because it's like, at least in my organization, like I know that this is a very cool thing and there are a lot of use cases for it, but I need to take that out and empower other people to figure out how to take advantage of it. So that's kind of what I'm really looking forward to.
Fantastic. I think that's something that we'll see many more people working on in the next couple of years. So for us as well as a company, in this industry, it's really important that we make that work. Cool, Amanda. You know that we want to keep these podcasts fairly short, so we'll put some links maybe to your GraphGist and the rest of your work on the transcription page, if that's okay. For now, I'm just going to thank you so much for coming online and having a chat with me, and I look forward to meeting you at Graph Connect.
Thanks, Rik. I had a lot of fun on the podcast this morning.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.